Hello students, welcome to this program titled National Policy on Education 1986. The objectives set for the present session are to know the historical background of national policy on education, to understand the need of policy, to know salient features of policy, and to highlight the merits and demerits of policy. National Policy on Education 1986, popularly known as the New Education Policy, the document contains nearly 10,000 words spread over 29 pages and is divided into 12 parts with 157 articles. Each article conceived in the context of human resource development, keeping in view the needs of 21st century. Before it was approved by Parliament, there was a nationwide debate on its need and contents in which thousands of students, teachers, parents, organizations, educational institutions, universities, state governments, central ministries, panchayat samitis and Zilla Parishads participated. The draft of the policy was discussed in the apex body on education with the Central Advisory Board of Education and the National Development Council. The call for the new education policy was first given by the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, in his broadcast to the nation on January 5, 1985. The need for the new policy arose from the fact that the implementation of 1986 policy and 1979 national education policy was incomplete and uneven. No plan of action was prepared for its implementation, nor was adequate funds made available for the purpose. The final draft of the National Policy on Education was preceded by the 119-page document entitled Challenge of Education, a Policy Perspective, released by the Ministry of Education in August 1985. National Policy on Education was passed by Lok Sabha on May 8th and Rajya Sabha on May 13th, 1986. Now, we will discuss the need of the policy. First, qualitative development of education, enhancement of percentage of literacy, checking of brain drain, implementation of free and compulsory education, removal of wastage and stagnation in education, modernization of curriculum and improvement of examination system. 5th January 1985, Rajiv Gandhi addressed the nation like education must promote national cohesion and work ethics. The grandeur of our freedom struggle and its significance for national integration has to be brought home to every student. The curricular and the textbooks should curb parochial communal interpretation of our composed culture. 12 parts of new educational policy. The new education policy 1986, based on the conclusions of nationwide debate and numerous other considerations, comprises 12 parts. First, Introductory. Second, the Essence and Rol of Education. Third, National System of Education. Fourth, Education for Equality. Fifth, Reorganization of education at different stages. Sixth, Technical and Management Education. Seventh, Making the System Work. Eighth, Reorienting the content and process of education. Ninth, the teacher. 10th, the management of education. 11th, resources and review. And lastly, the 12th is the future. First, introductory. Education has continued to evolve, diversify, and extend its reach and coverage since the dawn of human history. Every country develops its system of education to express and promote its unique socio-cultural identity and also to meet the challenge of the times. There are moments in history when a new direction has to be given to an old age process. That moment is today. The country has reached a stage in its economic and technical development when a major effort must be made to drive the maximum benefit from the assets already created and to ensure that the fruits of change reach all sections. Education is the highway to that goal. Education is responsible for all-round development of the individuals. It's also responsible for cultural assimilation and provides strength to democracy, secularism. Education constructs the nation at every level, creates self-sufficiency and searches new areas of development. The essence and role of education. Education is essentially for all. It is fundamental to our all-round development, material and spiritual. Education is unique investment in the present and the future. It develops manpower of different levels of economy. Education has an acculturating role. It redefines sensitivities and perceptions that contribute to national cohesion, a scientific temper, and independence of mind and spirit, thus furthering the goals of socialism, secularism, and democracy, enriched in our Constitution. National System of Education. The concept of national system of education implies that upon a given level, irrespective of caste, creed, location, or sex, have access to education of a comparable equality. Education for equality. All possible efforts will be made on the removal of disparities and to equalize educational opportunities by attending to the specific needs of the women, scheduled caste and tribes, the minorities and the handicapped. Now we will discuss reorganization of education at different states. New education policy has made valuable provisions for reorganization of education at different states like early childhood care and education, elementary education, secondary education, vocationalization of education, higher education, etc. Now, technical and management education. Networking systems will have to be established between technical education and industry. Now, making the system work. Education needs to be managed in an atmosphere of utmost intellectual rigor, seriousness of purpose, and at the same time of freedom essential for innovation and creativity. While far-reaching changes will have to be incorporated in the quality and range of education, the processes of introducing discipline into the system will have to be started here and now in what exists. It will be ensured that all teachers teach and all students study. Better facilities will be provided to teachers as well as students. A system of performance appraisals of institutions will be created according to standards and norms set at the national or state levels. Now, reorienting the content and process of education. The policy emphasized the reorientation of content and process of education. The existing schism between the formal system of education and the country's rich and varied cultural traditions need to be bridged. The preoccupation with modern technologies cannot be allowed to sever our new generations from the roots in India's history and culture. Deculturization, dehumanism, and alienation must be avoided at all costs. Education can and must bring about the fine synthesis between change-oriented technologies and the country's continuity of cultural tradition. The teacher and the teacher education. The status of the teacher reflects the socio-cultural ethos of a society. The government and the community should endeavor to create conditions which help motivate teachers on the constructive and creative lines. Keeping in view the objectivity and the qualifications of teachers, the policy for the recruitment of teachers will be organized. There should be provision for proper salary, better service conditions, promotions, etc. For the teachers, code of conduct of all the teachers at all levels should be prepared and it should be properly implemented. The system of education will be overhauled. The new programs of teacher education will emphasize continuing education. The management of education, the guiding consideration and the creation of a spirit of autonomy in education institutions. Resources and review. It will be ensured that from the 8 5-year plan onwards, expenditure will uniformly exceed 6% of the national income. Resources to the extent possible will be raised by mobilizing donations, asking the beneficiary committees to maintain school buildings. Institutions involved with research and the development of technical and scientific manpower should also mobilize some funds by levying excess or change on the user agencies, including government departments and entrepreneurs. The future. It has been envisaged that notwithstanding the complexity of the future shape, given our tradition which has almost always put a high premium on intellectual and spiritual attainment, the main task is to strengthen the base of the pyramid, which might come close to 1 billion of people at the turn of the century. Equally, it's important to ensure that those at the top of the pyramid are among the best in the world. Now we will discuss salient features of the policy. First, all-round development. In our national perception, education is essential for all, as it's fundamental to our all-round development, that's material and spiritual. Second, manpower development. Education develops manpower for different levels of national economy. It's also the substrate on which research and development flourish, being the ultimate guarantee of national self-reliance. A unique investment. Education is unique investment in present and the future. This cardinal principle is the key to the national policy on education. Common educational structure. The national policy on education envisages a common educational structure, that is 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure. National curricular framework. The national system of education will be based on a national curricular framework which contains a common core, history of India's freedom movement, along with other components that are flexible. International understanding. Education has to strengthen peace and understanding between nations. Understanding of cultural and social system. Steps will be taken to foster among students an understanding of diverse cultural and social system of the people living in different parts of the country. Equal opportunity. To promote equality, it will be necessary to provide for equal opportunity to all, not only in access but also in the conditions for success. Awareness of the inherent equality of all will be created through the core curriculum. Promotion of link and other languages. Beside the promotion of the link language, programs will also be launched to increase substantially the translation of books from one language to another and to publish multilingual dictionaries and glossaries. Now, lifelong education. Lifelong education is cherished goal of educational process. This presupposes universal illiteracy. Opportunities will be provided to the youth, housewives, agricultural and industrial workers, and professionals to continue the education of their choice and their own pace. The future thrust will be in the direction of open and distance learning. Now, empowerment of women. The national education system will play a positive role in the empowerment of women. It will foster the development of new values through redesigned curricula, textbooks, the training and orientation of teachers, decision makers and administrators, and the active involvement of educational institutions. Now, education for scheduled tribes. Priority will be accorded to opening primary schools in tribal areas. The construction of school buildings will be undertaken in these areas on a priority basis under the normal funds for education, as well as under the tribal welfare scheme. Incentive schemes will be formulated for the scheduled tribes, keeping in view their special needs and lifestyles. Scholarships for higher education will be emphasized technical, professional and paraprofessional courses. Special remedial courses and other programs to remove psychosocial impediments will be provided to improve their performance in various courses. Anganwadi, non-formal and adult education centers will be opened on the priority basis in areas predominantly inhabited by the scheduled tribes. Now, handicapped. The new policy proposes to integrate the physically and mentally handicapped and the general community as equal partners. It also expects them to face life with courage and confidence by preparing them for normal growth. Provisions of special schools with hostels as far as possible at district headquarters for severely handicapped children. Adequate arrangements for vocational training to the disabled. Now, child-centered approach. A warm, welcoming and encouraging approach is the best motivation for the child to attend school and learn. A child-centered and activity-based process of learning should be adopted at the primary stage. First-generation learners should be allowed to set their own pace and will be given supplementary remedial instruction. Now, school facilities like operational blackboard. Provisions will be made of essential facilities in primary schools, including at least 2 reasonably large rooms that can be used in all weather and the necessary toys, blackboards, maps, charts, other learning material. At least 2 teachers, one of whom a woman, should work in every school, the number increasing as early as possible to 1 teacher per class. An operational blackboard, a drive, will be undertaken throughout the country as a part of primary school improvement program. Now, pay-setting schools. Navodaya schools. Pay-setting schools will be established in various parts of the country to provide opportunities to the children with special talent or aptitude to proceed at a faster rate by making good quality education available to them, irrespective of their capacity to pay for it. Now, delinking degrees from jobs. A delinking will be made in delinking degrees from jobs in selected areas. Delinking degrees from jobs will be applied in services for which a university degree need not to be a necessary qualification. Its implementation will lead to the refashioning of job-specific courses and afford greater justice to those candidates who, despite being equipped for a given job, are unable to get it because of an unnecessary preference for graduate candidates. Now we will discuss merits of policy. First, holistic man. The policy thinks in terms of holistic man with commitment to higher values of life. Second merit, national unity. The policy intends to build a link between development and national unity through education. Third, equality of educational opportunities. The policy emphasizes equality of educational opportunity to women, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, minorities and handicapped persons. Delinking jobs from degrees. Delinking jobs from degrees is a new and unique recommendation. One more merit, that's management of education. The policy concentrated on the management of education at union, state, district and local levels. Now we will highlight the demerits of the policy. The limitations of National Policy on Education 1986 are like multiplicity of authorities. The multiplicity of authorities in education has been recommended. Roles of various authorities had not been properly defined. Second demerit, financial matters. About the financial matters, no clear-cut guidelines have been given. And lastly, constraints and deficiencies. There are many constraints and deficiencies in the implementation of the policy. And this was all related to our today's topic, National Policy on Education. Hope you enjoyed and understood. Thank you for watching.